Welcome to Deep Sleep Storyteller. Tonight, you are leaving everything behind. Every worry, every thought, every weight you've been carrying. You are setting it all down because tonight, you are going to the stars. There is a moment just before sleep takes you, when the world becomes very quiet, when the thoughts that chased you through the day begin to slow, one by one, like lights being turned off in distant windows across a sleeping town. When your body, which has carried you faithfully through every hour of this long and ordinary life, finally decides that it is allowed to be still. You know that moment. You have felt it before. That soft, warm threshold between the world you know and the one that waits for you just beneath the surface of consciousness. That gentle dissolving of the edges of things. Tonight, that moment is going to find you very easily. Tonight, you're going somewhere extraordinary. Not in a way that requires anything from you. Not in a way that demands alertness or effort or attention. You are going somewhere that exists with the sole and singular purpose of allowing you to rest, to breathe, to let every cell in your body remember what it feels like to be completely, deeply, utterly at peace. So settle in now. Whatever position your body has chosen, let it be the right one. Let your shoulders drop just a little more than they already have. Let your jaw become loose and easy. Let your hands open softly, the way hands open when they have decided there is nothing left to hold onto tonight. Because there isn't. There is nothing you need to hold onto right now. Everything that matters will still be there when the morning comes. Everything that can wait will wait. And right now, in this moment, the only thing that exists is this story, and this voice, and the extraordinary journey that is about to begin. You're a passenger on the Starliner Elysian Drift. Take a moment to let that settle over you like a warm blanket pulled up to the chin. The Elysian Drift. She is the most beautiful, the most quietly magnificent vessel ever built by human hands. A ship so thoughtfully designed that every single detail aboard her was chosen with one purpose in mind: the absolute and total comfort of the people who travel within her. She is not a military vessel. She is not a research station bristling with equipment and urgency. She is not a transport ship rushing cargo from one point to another across the cold geometry of space. She is none of those things. She is a luxury starliner in the truest and most generous sense of the word. A ship built the way a great old hotel might be built, with wide, quiet corridors and warm amber lighting, and the kind of thoughtful silence that speaks of excellent engineering and extraordinary care. She moves through space the way a slow cloud moves across a summer sky, unhurried, graceful, completely and entirely certain of her path, because her path was planned long ago by the gentlest and most sophisticated navigational minds ever assembled, and then reviewed, and refined, and perfected, so that the route she takes through the deep and endless dark of space is not merely efficient, but beautiful. She passes through the most breathtaking regions of the galaxy with the patience and deliberateness of a museum guide who knows that the best things are worth pausing for, worth lingering near, worth allowing to be absorbed slowly, completely, without rush. And you are aboard her. You have been aboard her for several days now, long enough that the gentle rhythms of the ship have become familiar to your body. long enough that you know the sound of the environmental systems cycling through their quiet, hourly maintenance. A sound so soft it is barely more than a whisper of moving air. Long enough that the low, continuous hum of the Elysian Drift's propulsion system has become as natural and as comforting a background sound as rain on a roof, or wind moving through trees, or the steady tick of an old clock in a house where you have always felt safe. That hum is with you right now, and it will be with you all night. It does not change in pitch. It does not surge or falter. It simply exists, deep and even and constant, somewhere beneath the floor, somewhere in the enormous, beautifully maintained heart of the ship. A sound that seems to say, without words, that everything is working exactly as it should, that everything is fine, that you are held and safe and carried. You are in your private cabin now. Your private cabin on the Elysian Drift is the kind of room that makes you breathe differently when you first step into it. Slower, deeper. The way you breathe when you walk into a place that immediately tells your nervous system that it can relax, that it has arrived somewhere that was built specifically for peace. The ceiling is high, higher than you might expect on a spacecraft, and it curves gently overhead in a soft arc of pale material that glows with a faint warm light, not the blue-white brightness of clinical environments, but the soft, low gold of early evening, of candles seen through paper, of light filtered through heavy curtains in a room where someone is sleeping late on a quiet morning. The walls are smooth and warm to the touch, made of a composite material that holds a gentle temperature, never too cool, never too warm, always precisely the temperature that the human body interprets as comfort, as safety, as home. There is a small seating area near the window, a curved bench upholstered in something that feels between velvet and cashmere, and on the little table beside it sits a glass of water with a thin slice of something faintly citrus floating at the surface, still and undisturbed, placed there by cabin service hours ago. The room carries the faintest scent of something clean and natural, not perfumed exactly, but fresh, like cool air after rain, like the inside of a cedar chest, like linen dried slowly in open air. The environmental systems of the Elysian Drift are extraordinarily sophisticated, and among their many capabilities is the ability to maintain an atmosphere within each private cabin that is calibrated specifically to its occupants' preferences, to the precise mixture of warmth and coolness, humidity and dryness that each individual passenger's body has quietly indicated it finds most restful over the course of the journey so far. Your cabin knows what you find restful. It has been paying gentle attention, but the centerpiece of the room, the thing that makes this cabin unlike any room you have ever slept in before, is the window. Your window. It spans nearly the entire outer wall, from a point just above the floor to a point just below the ceiling, a vast, seamless curve of transparent steel so optically perfect that there is no distortion, no reflection, no glare, only clarity, only the unobstructed, unmediated view of space itself, stretching outward from the surface of the window in every direction to a depth that the human mind can feel but cannot truly measure. Space, seen through this window, is not black the way darkness in a room is black. It is deep, it is layered, It is rich with a quality of darkness that somehow, strangely, peacefully, does not feel empty at all. It feels full, full of stars, full of light that has been traveling for longer than the human species has existed, full of a silence so complete and so vast that looking out into it produces, in the human chest, not anxiety, but something closer to wonder, to reverence, to the specific and very particular feeling of being very, very small in a way that is not frightening, but deeply, profoundly calming. Because when you are very small, and the universe is very large, then the very small worries of your very small life become appropriately sized. They become what they always were: tiny, manageable, temporary, vastly outnumbered by the beauty that surrounds them. You have been sitting by this window for a while this evening, watching the stars, letting the hours go soft around you, and now it is time for sleep. Now the ship's gentle schedule, which the Elysian Drifts AI has quietly synchronized with your own natural rhythms, is guiding you toward rest. You can feel it in the way the lighting in your cabin has already begun its slow, imperceptible dimming, dropping by increments so gradual that you have not consciously noticed them, only felt their effect: a loosening of alertness, a softening of the edges of thought, a growing warmth in your limbs. That is the language the body uses when it is ready to let go of the day. You move from the window seat toward your bed, and the bed on the Elysian Drift is something that deserves its own long and reverent description, because it is not simply a bed in the way that beds are simply beds. It is the sensory rest system, which is what the ship's designers called it, though passengers have been known to simply call it extraordinary. It is a zero-gravity sleep module, meaning that once you're settled within it and have pressed the softly glowing panel on its side, the module adjusts itself to distribute your weight so perfectly across its entire surface that no single point on your body feels any pressure at all. You do not feel the mattress beneath your back, or your hips or your shoulders the way you feel an ordinary mattress. Instead, you feel supported everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. You feel as though you are floating very gently, very slowly, within something warm and perfectly yielding, as though the space between sleeping and waking has a texture, and this bed has somehow managed to replicate it in physical form. The bedding is layered and soft, each layer finer than the last, and the warmth that rises from the module is calibrated to be precisely 1 degree warmer than your skin, so that pulling the covers around you produces an immediate and involuntary sigh of the body, a physical release, the kind of warmth that goes all the way down into the muscles and tells them they are allowed to unclench now. The pillow, or rather the sequence of pillows arranged at the head of the module, supports your head and neck in a way that feels almost architectural in its precision, as though the pillow itself understands the specific geography of your particular neck and has shaped itself accordingly. Your head sinks into it, and there is a small, beautiful moment of settlement of the crown of your head finding its resting place, and your face tilting naturally toward that vast, extraordinary window. You are lying down now. You are in the bed, and the stars are right there, right outside your window, enormous and quiet and impossibly, incomprehensibly far away. And you can look at them from the perfect horizontal warmth of this extraordinary sleeping place, and they ask nothing of you. They do not need you to understand them. They do not need you to do anything at all. They have been burning for millions of years, many of them, and they will continue to burn long after tonight. And right now, they are simply here, simply existing in their slow and patient way. And so are you, in somehow that parallel existence. The star going on being a star, and you going on being you, resting in this warm and held and floating place is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. Let's breathe together for a moment. Breathe in slowly through your nose, letting the air fill you completely, letting your chest rise and your ribs expand, your belly soften outward with the fullness of the breath. Hold it there, just for a beat, just long enough to feel the warmth of the air inside you, the way the oxygen is already spreading outward from your lungs into your blood, feeding your hands and your feet and the very tips of your fingers and toes, and then let it go, slowly, all the way out, through your mouth or your nose, whichever feels easier, letting the air leave you completely, letting your body become a little heavier as it empties, letting your shoulders drop a fraction further into the pillow, letting your face relax a little more with every degree of exhalation. Good. And again. And through the nose, long and slow, feeling the room's perfectly conditioned air move into you, clean and warm and faintly, barely, almost imperceptibly carrying that note of clean freshness that the cabin's environmental system maintains. And out, long and slow, your body sinking, your mind quieting. The hum of the ship is there beneath everything. You can hear it now that you're still enough to listen. It is not loud. It will never be loud. It is the kind of sound that you feel more than hear. A low vibration that travels up through the structure of the ship and through the base of the sleep module, and into the warmth of the bedding, and into your very bones. And your bones know it. They have known it for days now, and they interpret it the way they interpret any familiar and reliable thing, as a signal that the world is proceeding as expected, that nothing is wrong, that the long and reliable machinery of existence is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. The hum is constant. The hum is the heartbeat of the Elysian drift. The Elysian drift is carrying you steadily, gracefully, through the dark. You have been looking forward to this, to the quiet of the night aboard the ship when the other passengers have retired to their own cabins and the corridor outside your door is empty and the ship feels like it belongs to you alone, you and the stars and the endless dark and that low, beloved hum. There is something about nighttime in space that is different from nighttime anywhere else, though it is difficult to say precisely how. Perhaps it is that there is no sense of the world turning away from its star. There is no sunset sequence, no slow reddening of the sky, no crickets beginning as the warmth fades. There is simply the stars, and they are always there, and the distinction between day and night aboard the ship is maintained entirely by the cabin's lighting systems, a beautiful and deliberate fiction maintained for the benefit of human biology, the maintenance of the circadian rhythms that the body depends upon even this far from the planet where those rhythms were first established, over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. In a world of mornings and evenings and long blue-black nights beneath different, but equally beautiful skies, it is night now, in the cabin's patient reckoning, and you are in the bed, and the stars are outside the window, and everything is very, very quiet. You close your eyes for a moment, not because there is nothing worth looking at, but because closing them feels good, feels right, feels like the natural next step in this slow descent toward sleep. Behind your eyelids, the faint glow of the starfield is still somehow present, not as light exactly, but as an impression of light, of depth, of the quality of space itself, as though the window is so large and the stars are so numerous that even the backs of your eyelids have been gently illuminated by them. You breathe, the module holds you, the ship hums, and you feel your mind beginning to do the thing it does at the edge of sleep, that peculiar and beautiful thing where thoughts become less like sentences and more like images, where the logical architecture of waking consciousness begins to soften and blur and dissolve at the edges into something looser, warmer, more associative, more dreamlike, more free. But you are not quite asleep yet, and the ship has more to show you tonight. In a little while, when you have settled even more deeply into this warmth, you are going to open your eyes again and look out through that great curved window at the universe moving slowly past. The Elysian Drift is approaching one of the most extraordinary regions of the galaxy tonight, and her navigational systems have been plotting this course for months, bringing you here with precision and care, and a kind of reverence that you might not expect from a system of algorithms and sensors, but which feels, somehow, entirely appropriate, because some things in this universe are large enough and beautiful enough that even a navigational system composed of pure mathematics seems to understand that they require a particular kind of approach, a slow one, a careful one that does not rush. But for now, you breathe and you settle and you let the ship carry you. Your body is growing heavier with each breath, not heavy in a way that is uncomfortable, not the heaviness of exhaustion or of illness, but the deep and satisfying heaviness of a body that has finally been given permission to stop. Your legs are heavy and still. Your arms are heavy and loose at your sides. Your back has found the precise degree of softness it was looking for in this bed, and it has released into it with the quiet relief of something that has been working hard all day and is now, finally, at rest. Your neck is long and easy. Your face is soft. There is no tension in your brow, or if there was a moment ago, it has already begun to smooth away, like riding a race from a board, like footprints disappearing in sand as the tide comes in. Slowly, certainly without effort, the sounds of the ship are so familiar now. The hum, ever present, ever even, the very occasional murmur of the air circulation as it makes its quiet, hourly adjustments. Once, far away down the corridor, the almost inaudible whisper of a door opening and closing. Another passenger perhaps moving through the ship on their own late-night errand. Equally quiet, equally drawn to the peace that this vessel seems to hold in every room, every corridor, every corner of her great and gentle structure. And then silence again, and the hum, and your breathing. Shall we go for a walk? Not a walk that requires you to move. Not a walk that requires anything from you at all. This is a walk made entirely of awareness, of noticing, of the gentle kind of attention that costs nothing and asks nothing and simply allows the world around you to be exactly as beautiful as it is. You are still in the bed, You are still warm. You are still held. But let your awareness drift, just gently, just softly, like a leaf released from a branch and carried by an easy current, out through the door of your cabin and into the corridor of the Elysian Drift. The corridor is empty at this hour. It is always beautiful, but at night, with the other passengers asleep, it has a particular quality of quiet that transforms it into something almost sacred. Something that belongs to the hours before dawn the way certain music belongs to certain seasons. Perfectly matched, perfectly suited, perfectly right. The corridor runs the length of this deck in a long, gentle curve, following the interior shape of the ship's hull, and the walls are lined at intervals with small recessed panels that glow at night with a light so low and warm it is barely more than a suggestion of amber, just enough to see by, just enough to remind you that the ship is alive and attentive and looking after you, not enough to wake you if you are already half asleep, which you nearly are. The floor of the corridor is covered in a material that is as close to silence as a floor covering can come. Your footsteps, if you were walking, would make almost no sound at all. A soft suggestion of contact, a barely perceptible whisper of soul against surface. Nothing more. The entire ship, in fact, seems to have been designed with the specific intention of minimizing the acoustic intrusions of the physical world, of creating an environment in which the sounds that reach you are only the sounds that are meant to reach you. The hum, the air, the deep and peaceful quiet of space travel at its most refined. The corridor passes several other cabin doors, each identical to your own from the outside, smooth and warm and closed, each one holding behind it another passenger in their own sleep module, their own window, their own version of this same extraordinary night. You do not know these people. You have seen some of them at meals, at the observation deck, passing in the corridors, with the quiet acknowledgement of people who share a space and understand instinctively that the most respectful thing they can do for one another is to be gentle with it. There is a companionable solitude to life aboard the Elysian Drift, a sense that each person here has arrived with their own private need for peace, for perspective, for the specific medicine that only enormous distance and extraordinary beauty can provide, and that the best way to honor that need in yourself is to honor it equally in everyone around you. You drift further down the corridor. There is a small alcove here, set into the curve of the outer wall, with a wide bench and a smaller window. A porthole by comparison to the vast pane of your cabin, but a window nonetheless, and through it the stars pour in their silent, generous way, washing the little alcove in a light so gentle and so old that it carries no heat, only a kind of philosophical warmth, the warmth of knowing that you are connected, however tenuously, however indirectly, to something that has existed for a very long time and will continue to exist long after your particular thread has been woven into whatever larger pattern is being made. Further along past the alcove, the corridor widens slightly near the ship's central core, where the engineering systems live. You cannot see them from here. They're housed deep within the ship's structure, separated from the passenger spaces by layers of material and design that ensure they contribute nothing to your experience except that low, beloved, constant hum. But you can sense them the way you can sometimes sense the heart of a great old building, the furnace room the boiler, the mechanism that makes the warmth and the light possible, not threatening, not industrial in any unpleasant way, but foundational, essential, quietly magnificent. The hum is a little richer near the core, just a fraction deeper and fuller, and for a moment you let it move through you. Let it find the frequency of your own body's quiet systems, the heartbeat, the slow breath, the cellular hum of a body at rest, and it resonates there, easily, like a tuning fork recognizing its note. You do not need to go further. There is nothing else to find in the corridor that you do not already have in your cabin, in your bed, in the warmth and the stillness and the view that is waiting for you. And so you drift back easily along the corridor's gentle curve, past the doors and the alcove and the amber light panels, and through your cabin door, and back into the warmth, back into the bed, back into the hum, back into the view. You open your eyes, and the window is there, exactly as you left it, enormous and clear, and filled entirely with the universe. And the Elysian drift is still moving, slowly, slowly, through the dark, and something has changed in the view since you last looked. Something has appeared on the left edge of the window, a suggestion of something that is not the pure black of empty space. Something that has color, that has depth, that has a quality of presence, that draws your gaze with the gentle insistence of a flame in a dark room, not urgently, not demandingly, simply as the most naturally interesting thing in the available field of vision, the way a painting draws the eye in a white room, the way a candle draws attention in the dark. You look toward it, and as the ship continues its slow, deliberate arc, bringing the window to bear more fully on what lies ahead, you begin to understand what you are seeing. And your breath slows, and your chest opens slightly, and something deep inside you recognizes this even though you have never seen it before, because some things in the universe are so large and so beautiful that they seem to exist in a part of human understanding that predates knowledge, that lives below learning, in the ancient and reliable part of the self that responds to beauty not with analysis, but with stillness, the pillars of creation. Perhaps you have seen photographs of them in books or on screens, those famous photographs taken by the great space telescopes, those images that have circled the world and decorated the walls of bedrooms and classrooms and meeting rooms and hospital corridors. Those images that seem to say, without words, that the universe is worth paying attention to. But photographs, however beautiful, are still photographs. They are flat. They are small. They are approximations. They cannot give you the scale. They cannot give you the depth. They cannot give you the quality of light that comes from a source this vast, seen through a window this clear from a distance, measured not in meters or kilometers but in light years, in the incomprehensible arithmetic of cosmic distance. And yet somehow you can see them. Somehow your window brings them close enough to see with the kind of seeing that involves the whole body, not just the eyes. Their eyes. That is the first thing you notice. The rising, the way they tower upward from some base that is beyond the frame of your window, column after column of cosmic dust and gas, so dense and so vast that each one is taller than any mountain ever imagined, taller than any structure ever built, taller than anything your mind has words to measure, and yet they do not overwhelm you. because they are also soft, because the material they are made of is not rock or metal, but cloud, cosmic cloud, the most ancient and patient substance in the galaxy. Gas and dust that has been slowly condensing and shifting and gathering for millions of years, drawn together by forces so gentle and so persistent that they require geological time to demonstrate their effects. And the result of all that patience, all that slow and deliberate gathering, is these columns, these pillars, these towers of cosmic cloud that glow in the light of the young stars forming within them with colors so extraordinary that the human eye, seeing them for the first time through a window like yours, tends to do what you are doing right now, which is simply to stop, to be still, to look deep blue, the color of the sky at the moment, just after sunset, when the last of the orange has faded, and the stars are not yet out, but the sky itself is still luminous, self-lit, holding its own light from within. That is the blue of the lower columns, the densest regions of the clouds, where the starlight does not penetrate all the way through, and the material itself seems to hold the color rather than reflect it. And then where the columns thin toward their towering peaks, where the density decreases, and the starlight from the young stars within begins to leak through, the color shifts and warms, moving through shades that don't have precise names, through a kind of dusty rose into a warm peach, and then into a deep and extraordinary orange that sits at the very tips of the pillars, where they dissolve into the surrounding space in wisps and curls of illuminated gas that seem almost to breathe, to expand and contract with an exhalation so slow it makes geological time seem hasty. The space around the pillars is not empty. The wider nebula that contains them fills the background of your window with a haze of color so diffuse that it reads almost as a deepening of the darkness rather than light, until you have been looking at it long enough that your eyes adjust and you begin to see it for what it is, a vast and tenuous cloud of illuminated gas that stretches in every direction further than the window can contain, in every shade between deep burgundy and the palest, warmest cream, like the inside of a seashell seen by candlelight, like the colors in embers when a fire has been burning for a long time and the heat has settled into something steady and reliable and ancient. Within the pillars, something is happening, something slow and extraordinary and entirely silent from where you lie. Stars are being born, not quickly, not in any sense that could be observed from moment to moment, but the physics of it is taking place nonetheless. In the dense and beautiful darkness of those towering clouds, gravity is drawing together what was once diffuse and scattered, compressing gas and dust into densities that will one day, in hundreds of thousands or millions of years, ignite into the self-sustaining nuclear reactions that we call stars, that the universe calls ordinary. These are not ancient stars. These are new ones. In the cosmological sense, infant stars, stellar nurseries, the cosmic equivalent of a dawn that will take 1,000,000 years to fully arrive. And you are watching it from your warm bed, on this quiet ship, in the soft amber light of your cabin, with a hum beneath you and the pillow around your head, and the weight of the blankets on your legs, and you do not need to understand the astrophysics to feel the rightness of it, the deep and calming rightness of watching something that enormous, and that beautiful doing something that peaceful. Because what are these pillars, really, but birth? And what is birth but the universe finding new ways to be? And what is there to feel in the presence of that, except wonder and peace, and the very particular quietness that comes from being reminded that the world is very large and very patient and very, very beautiful, and that your small and beloved life exists within that beauty, is made of that same ancient material, is part of the same slow and extraordinary unfolding. The tips of the pillars drift past the right edge of your window as the ship continues its slow course, and for a while you watch them go, the way you watch a beautiful landscape pass the window of a slow train, not with the urgency of wanting to hold onto it, but with the ease of knowing that the beauty is doing what beauty always does, which is to leave its impression in you, to change you slightly in the quiet, permanent way that beautiful things do, so that somewhere in the cellular memory of who you are, the pillars of creation are now part of the record, part of your story, part of the long and ongoing account of all the things you have seen in your life that made you stop and breathe and be still. The ship moves on, and you breathe, and the hum is there, constant, deep, reliable as ever. The heartbeat of this vessel that is carrying you through one of the most beautiful journeys a human being has ever taken, and you feel the warmth of the bed, and the softness of the pillow, and the heaviness of your legs and your arms, and you let yourself be very, very comfortable. Let yourself be very, very quiet inside. Let the thoughts that might want to arise simply not quite form, like ice that tries to crystallize and then melts back into water, like words that get to the very edge of being said, and then decide they do not need to be said after all. There's nothing that needs to be thought right now. There is only this. The ship moves on, and the view through the window shifts and changes the way views do when you are moving at a gentle speed through a vast landscape. Always something giving way to something else. Always some new arrangement of the infinite material of the universe presenting itself to the window with the unhurried confidence of things that know they are beautiful and do not need to prove it. For a while, the view is simply stars, simply the deep and populated darkness of the galactic plane. More stars than there are words to count them. More stars than the eye can individually identify. A field of light so dense that the darkness between the stars seems almost incidental, almost like the spaces between letters rather than the primary material of the page. You watch them. You do not try to count them, or name them, or understand them. You simply watch them the way you might watch rain on a window, or light on water, or smoke curling upward from a dying fire, with a quality of attention that is entirely passive, entirely receptive, entirely without agenda, the most restful kind of watching there is. The kind that asks nothing of the watcher except presence, and that gives back in return for that small and effortless offering of presence, a deep and cumulative calm that settles into you layer by layer, breath by breath. The stars outside your window are slowly, very slowly, shifting in character as the ship moves further toward the central regions of the galaxy. They are becoming more numerous, more varied in their colors, more layered in their depths, as though the universe is gradually intensifying, gathering itself, becoming more of what it is as you move toward the place where most of its mass is concentrated, the great and ancient heart of the Milky Way, where the stars are oldest and most numerous, and where the gas and dust of the interstellar medium is richest and most complex. You are going there. The Elysian Drift is taking you there tonight, slowly, beautifully, along a course that will bring you as close as any passenger ship has ever come to the central molecular zone of the galaxy, to the enormous and extraordinary region of space that surrounds the galactic core, where the chemistry of the universe becomes so rich and so varied that the air itself, if you could breathe it, would be different from anything that exists in the thin and relatively simple atmosphere of any individual stellar system. The ship's AI has been aware of what lies ahead for the past several hours, and it has been making quiet preparations, calibrating systems, adjusting parameters, doing the kinds of careful and considered things that a very sophisticated intelligence does when it knows that something extraordinary is approaching, and it wants to make sure that the people in its care experience it in the fullest and most beautiful way possible. You don't know any of this consciously. You are in your bed, warm and heavy, and moving slowly towards sleep, watching the stars through your window, breathing with the hum. But somewhere at the edge of awareness, you sense that something is changing, that the quality of the journey is about to become something different, something that will ask even less of you than it already does, because it will simply give itself to you directly through the window and through the air of the cabin and through whatever deep and non-verbal faculty it is that the human body uses to receive and register beauty when the mind has stepped back from the business of thinking and left the senses to do their work uninterrupted. The AI's voice comes when it comes, very quietly, barely above a whisper, a warm and androgynous voice that has been calibrated for exactly this hour, for exactly this quality of late-night intimacy, for the specific and gentle delivery of information to a passenger who is half asleep in their bed and does not want to be startled or pulled from the warmth of where they are. It says only this, that the ship is approaching the outer boundary of the Sagittarius B2 molecular cloud complex, and that the environmental systems are preparing to engage their atmospheric replication protocol, and that the passenger may wish to simply breathe normally and allow the cabin's air to carry whatever it brings. And then the voice is quiet again, and the hum continues, and you breathe. Sagittarius B2. The name is ancient and scientific, and made of letters and numbers, but what it refers to is one of the most extraordinary molecular clouds in the observable galaxy, a vast region of interstellar gas and dust near the center of the Milky Way, so chemically complex and so densely packed with molecules that astronomers who have spent their careers studying it still speak of it with a quality of voice that is noticeably different from the voice they use to discuss other things. It is enormous in the way that only cosmic things are enormous, in a way that makes the word enormous itself seem inadequate. And it is complex, filled with hundreds of different molecular compounds, some simple, some surprisingly elaborate, some that appear in contexts that make you feel that the universe has a sense of poetry about its own chemistry, a feeling for what will be interesting to find in unexpected places. Among the many molecules that exist within the cloud of Sagittarius B2, there is one that the astronomers noticed with particular delight, a molecule called ethylformine, which happens to be responsible, in significant part, for the scent and flavor of raspberries. It exists there, in the vast molecular cloud at the center of the galaxy, in enormous quantities, woven through the interstellar gas like a memory of fruit in an otherwise abstract and mathematical landscape. A reminder that the universe, for all its scale and indifference, has a kind of accidental sweetness built into its very chemical architecture. The Elysian drifts, I knows about this. Of course it does. And the environmental system of your cabin, which is very good at its job, and which has access to a complete chemical library and an extraordinarily precise delivery mechanism built into the cabin's air circulation network, has been quietly and precisely at work for the last several minutes, recreating in the air of your room the signature chemical impression of Sagittarius B2. Not all of it, not the hydrogen sulfide and the methanol and the dozens of other components that would not be pleasant to breathe, but the delicate top note of the cloud's chemistry, the soft, sweet, barely perceptible impression of ethyl formate, so faint that you might not notice it consciously at all, might simply breathe it in without registering it as anything other than a general sense of the air being particularly pleasant tonight, particularly gentle, particularly good to breathe, or you might notice it. You might breathe in slowly through your nose the way you've been breathing, the long and easy breath that the bed and the warmth and the stars and the hum have all conspired to encourage in you tonight. And somewhere in that breath, if your attention catches it, if your nose finds it the way a nose sometimes finds a scent that is so faint and so right that it stops you in the middle of what you are doing, you might find it the softest, warmest, most distant, and impossible suggestion of raspberries, fruit, in space, in the air of a cabin moving through the dark near the center of the galaxy. And there is something so unexpectedly, so perfectly, so quietly wonderful about it, that it produces in the body not laughter exactly, but the physiological neighbor of laughter, a small warm opening in the chest, a release, a lightening, the specific pleasant surprise of the universe being stranger and more generous than you expected, the universe being sweet, the universe smelling faintly of summer fruit in the middle of the infinite dark. Breathe it in. Let it be whatever it is. Let it be the scent of the galaxy's heart, delivered through a very thoughtful ventilation system by a very caring AI to a passenger in a warm bed watching the stars. Let it be the universe's way of saying something it doesn't have words for, the same way music says things it doesn't have words for, the same way a particular quality of light on a particular afternoon says something that no sentence has ever quite managed. Let the raspberry sweetness move through you with a breath. Let the breath go slowly, all the way out, and feel in the exhale a release that is slightly deeper than the previous releases, as though the scent itself has carried something loose in you that was waiting to be loosened, some small and unnecessary tension that was still living somewhere in the architecture of your chest, and has now quietly been given permission to go. The molecular cloud drifts past the window. You cannot see it, not exactly, not the way you saw the pillars of creation. It is too vast and too diffuse for visual resolution at this scale. What the window shows you instead is a subtle shift in the quality of the darkness, a slight deepening, a slight warming in the way the starlight is scattered and filtered through the tenuous outer edge of the cloud's material. The stars behind the cloud are not hidden exactly, but they are softened, their light passing through layers of interstellar chemistry that give it a quality, a warmth, a slight amber golden tinting that makes the star field outside your window look, for a while, like stars seen through the last haze of a summer evening, through the atmospheric glow of a warm and quiet world. It is beautiful in a way that is almost too simple to describe. It is simply warm. Warm light through a warm medium, reaching a warm room where you are warm and held and breathing. The ship moves on. You have been breathing for so long now in this slow and easy rhythm that has become automatic. The way breathing always eventually becomes automatic when we stop thinking about it and let the body do what it has always known how to do. Your body has always known how to breathe, long before you had words for it, long before you had thoughts about it. The body was breathing in its steady and reliable way, cycling through the air of every room and every outdoor space you have ever inhabited, taking what it needed and releasing what it did not, without complaint, without drama, without requiring anything from your conscious mind except the most basic kind of inattention, the willingness to let it simply proceed. Let it proceed now. Let it breathe while you rest. The ship is quiet. The corridor outside your door is empty. The other passengers are asleep, or nearly so. The night watch of the ship's crew, a small and dedicated team who maintain the vessel's systems through the sleeping hours, move through the utility corridors in their own practiced quiet, checking readings and making adjustments with the ease of people who have done this many times, and who know that the ship is well, and that their work tonight, as most nights, is simply the comfortable maintenance of a system that is already working exactly as it should. They do not disturb you. They will never disturb you. The Elysian drift is designed so that the work of keeping the ship running is entirely invisible to the passengers, hidden away in the infrastructure, managed at a remove, so that what the passenger experiences is only the result of all that work, which is to say, peace and comfort and the continuous, reliable sense of being cared for by something much larger and more capable than yourself. Something is changing in the view outside the window again. It is subtle at first, so subtle that you might not notice it immediately, might simply become aware, gradually, over the course of several long and easy breaths, that the field of stars ahead has taken on a new quality, that there is something in the far distance that is behaving differently from the stars around it, not moving differently. The ship is moving, not the stars, but a quality of light in one region of the window that has a character all its own, a regularity, a pulse, so slow and so gentle that it reads, at first, simply as a variation in the luminosity of a distant star, the natural slight dimming and brightening that some stars undergo as part of their ordinary stellar life. But then you notice it again, the same pulse, the same interval, the same reliable and beautiful regularity, and you understand that what you are seeing is not random variation, but rhythm, the same rhythm as a heartbeat, but slower, the same rhythm as breathing, but slower still, the rhythm of something spinning in the distance with extraordinary precision and consistency, a neutron star, far, far away. The ship's navigational safety systems ensure it will always be far, far away, A neutron star is one of the universe's more extreme creations, the compressed remnant core of a massive star that died long ago in a supernova, its matter crushed by the violence of that death into a sphere of such incredible density that a teaspoon of its material would weigh more than every mountain on Earth combined. It spins as neutron stars do, with extraordinary speed, or some do, and as it spins, its magnetic poles sweep through the surrounding space, broadcasting beams of radiation with the metronomic regularity of the universe's most reliable clockwork. The physicists who study them have given them a name: pulsars, for the pulsing quality of that regular, sweeping beam. And this is what you are watching now, from the perfect safety of your bed, from the perfect distance of your ship, the slow and rhythmic pulse of a neutron star broadcasting its patient signal into the dark. But from here, from this distance, measured in the enormous arithmetic of light years, all the danger of that signal has been diluted by distance into nothing, and what arrives at your window is only the faintest, most gentle impression of the pulse, a slight rhythmic brightening of one region of the star field, as regular and as soothing as a lighthouse seen from a ship safely at sea, as regular and as reassuring as a night light in a hallway, as regular and as comforting as the sound of a heartbeat in a quiet room. You watch it pulse, you breathe, and without quite deciding to, without any conscious effort or intention, your own breathing begins to synchronize slightly with the pulse of that distant star. Not perfectly, not mechanically, but in the way that any rhythmic thing gradually influences the body's own rhythms when you are in close enough contact with it for long enough, in the way that music affects the heart rate, in the way that waves affect the breath of someone sitting on a beach and watching them. The neutron star's patient pulse becomes a very soft and very distant metronome, and your breath finds it gently and rests against it. And the result is a quality of breathing that is deeper and slower and more even than what you were doing before. And the result of that breathing is a heaviness in your limbs that is so complete and so comfortable that it is no longer possible to say with certainty where the mattress ends and where your body begins. You are so deeply settled into this bed. You are so thoroughly warm. The stars outside the window go on, a vast and glittering field that your eyes have almost stopped trying to focus on individually, letting them become instead a collective impression, a texture, a quality of the darkness that is so far from empty it might almost be called full of light and history and the patient ongoing work of the universe doing what it does. The pulse of the neutron star continues, steady, reliable, far away, and you breathe with it, slowly, and the hum of the ship is beneath you, and the scent of the cabin's air is clean and faintly sweet, and your hands are open and still at your sides, and your face is soft against the pillow, and your eyes, when they open, see stars, and when they close, they see the impression of stars. And there is almost no difference between the two, because you are almost equally present in both states, resting in the beautiful threshold space between waking and dreaming, where the mind does its most interesting and most gentle work, associating freely, imagining without constraint, drifting through the inner landscape with the same easy, unhurried pace that the Elysian drift uses to move through the outer one. Let yourself be in that threshold space. Let yourself be neither fully awake nor fully asleep, but simply present in the warm, the hum, the slow drift of the ship through the dark. There is no hurry. There is nowhere else to be. The journey is exactly this long and exactly this beautiful, and you are on it, and everything is fine. The ship glides on, and gradually, with the patience of navigation systems that have planned this route with exquisite care, the view through the window begins to change again. Something is ahead, something large, something that is making its presence known not through light, not through the broadcasting of radiation, not through the kinds of signals that the electromagnetic spectrum carries, but through its effect on the things around it, through the way the starlight in the far distance is beginning to behave differently, is beginning to do something that starlight does not usually do. It is bending. The stars in one region of the window are slowly, almost imperceptibly, changing their apparent position. Not because they are moving. They are not. They are as fixed and as patient as they have always been. But because the space through which their light is traveling on its way to your window is being gently, continuously curved by the presence of an enormous mass and light, which always travels in what it experiences as a straight line, but which follows the geometry of the space it moves through, follows those curves the way a river follows the landscape, the way a road follows a mountain, bending not because anything is pushing it, but because that is simply the shape of the path available to it. A black hole, a sleeping giant, vast and ancient and entirely dark, sitting at the center of its own warped geometry like a still point at the center of a whirlpool, drawing nothing toward it tonight that is not already well within its gravitational reach, no threat to the ship, no danger, no urgency of any kind. The Elysian drift passes at a distance that makes this encounter purely aesthetic, purely observational, a viewing from a safe and comfortable remove. The cosmic equivalent of watching a mountain from the window of a train, appreciating its scale and its presence without any intention of climbing it. What you see through the window is not the black hole itself. The black hole has no light to show you. By definition, it has no surface from which light can escape, no luminous atmosphere, no glowing disk at this particular moment, no jets of energetic material broadcasting themselves into the surrounding space. What you see is the effect of the black hole on everything around it. You see the stars behind it, whose light must travel past the black hole's enormous gravity well on its way to your window. And those stars are doing extraordinary things. They are stretched. They are duplicated. They appear in places they should not appear, reflected and redirected by the gravitational lensing of the black hole's presence into positions that create a halo of distorted starlight around the central darkness, a ring of light that the physicists call an Einstein ring, named for the men who first predicted that gravity would bend light exactly as you were watching it being bent. And that is beautiful. That is the thing that no equation predicted and no photograph quite captures. It is beautiful. The darkness at the center is not frightening. From this distance, with the ship's systems managing every aspect of the approach with a careful expertise of navigators who have brought passengers to this viewpoint many times before, the black hole reads as still, as quiet, as settled into itself, with the deep confidence of something that has been exactly what it is for longer than the Earth has existed. The darkness at its core is perfect. It is absolute. It is the closest thing to pure nothing that the physical universe produces. And surrounding it, that ring of bent and distorted and redirected starlight shimmers and curves in a way that is mesmerizing, in the precise and literal sense of the word, in the way that a candle flame is mesmerizing, the way firelight is mesmerizing, the way any complex and slowly moving system of light becomes mesmerizing when you look at it without trying to understand it, and simply let it fill your field of vision and find its own way into your perception. There is a long tradition across many human cultures of finding peace in the contemplation of large things: the ocean, mountains, the sky, the fire. And those traditions exist, perhaps, because there is something in the nervous system of a human being that responds to scale in a specific and consistent way, that interprets the presence of something much larger than oneself as an invitation to stop worrying about the smaller things, to put them in their proper proportion, to experience the very particular relief of feeling briefly, sweetly, gratefully small in a universe that is very, very large. The black hole gives you this freely, without asking for anything, simply by being what it is. This ancient and enormous and perfectly peaceful absence at the center of its own gravity, bending the light of a billion stars around itself in an arc of such quiet, such mathematical beauty, such profound indifference to your existence, or your worries, or any of the small machinery of your daily life. It offers you the gift of perspective, the gift of smallness, the gift of being reminded that the universe is so extraordinarily, so lavishly, so continuously larger than any one life, that the weight of any one life's concerns, however real and however valid they may be, can always find room to breathe in a space this big. You breathe the Einstein ring glimmers at the edge of your fading attention. The black hole holds its ancient stillness at the center of the bent light, and you are warm in the bed and heavy in all your limbs, and your eyes have stopped trying to focus on the details and are simply resting in the general beauty of what the window is showing you, the way eyes rest when they find a view that satisfies them completely. The hum of the ship continues, and everything is fine, and everything is fine. The ship glides on, past the black hole, past the bent and lens light, out into a region of space where the darkness deepens and the stars become, if possible, even more numerous, even more varied. The galactic plane in all its extraordinary density of light and matter and ancient solar systems, and all the slow and patient history of a galaxy that has been in the business of making stars and worlds and cosmic structures for nearly as long as the universe itself has existed. This part of the view asks nothing of you. It simply continues, star after star after star, in every direction the window can accommodate, a field of light so comprehensive and so continuous that it begins to feel less like a collection of individual points and more like a quality of the dark itself, as though darkness in this part of space is simply the resting state of light between its various sources, the quiet background against which the real business of the universe is always and continuously being conducted. Your eyes close, not because there is nothing to see, but because there is so much to see, and you have seen so much tonight, and the body, in its wisdom, has decided that the time for seeing is giving way to the time for simply being, for resting in the impression of what you have seen, for letting it move down out of the visual cortex and into the deeper places where beautiful experiences are stored and processed and slowly integrated into who you are. This is what sleep is for. Among its many functions, this is one of the things the sleeping brain does in the quiet hours. It takes what the waking day has offered, and it finds places for all of it, sorts it, situates it, does the long and mostly invisible work of turning experience into memory, and memory into understanding, and understanding into whatever it is beyond understanding that makes a human being the particular and unrepeatable person that they are. Tonight, while you sleep, your brain will do this work with what your eyes have seen through the window of the Elysian drift. The pillars of creation will find their place. The raspberry sweetness of the galaxy's heart will settle somewhere. The neutron star's patient pulse will become part of the rhythm that your body knows. The black hole's gentle, enormous stillness will add itself to the collection of large and beautiful things that have, over the course of your life, helped you understand your own small and beloved size. And all of this will happen without any effort on your part. All of this will happen in the dark, in the warmth, in the hum, while you simply rest. But there is one more thing, one more. The Elysian drift has been adjusting its course over the past hour with the finest of navigational corrections, bringing the window into alignment with a particular region of the deep sky, a region that lies far outside the Milky Way entirely, out beyond the local group of galaxies, out into the vast and largely empty spaces between the great clusters of galaxies where the universe shows you its largest scale structures, the things that only become visible when you have stepped back far enough to see them in their full context. The way a tapestry only reveals its pattern when you stop looking at the individual threads and let your eyes find the distance that the pattern requires. And in this region of the deep sky, aligned now with the center of your window, with the patience and precision of a navigational system that has been planning this alignment for the entire journey, something is happening that has been happening for a very, very long time, and will continue to happen for a very, very long time after tonight. Something enormous and slow and completely, profoundly, astoundingly beautiful. Two galaxies are merging. Each one contains hundreds of billions of stars. Each one is a spiral or elliptical or irregular collection of stars and gas and dust and dark matter and every complexity of structure and history that 4 billion years of stellar evolution can produce. They are close to each other in galactic terms, which means they are separated by distances that are still incomprehensible to human intuition, but that their mutual gravity has decided are close enough for the slow tidal forces of two enormous gravitational fields to begin to speak to each other, to begin the long courtship that will, over hundreds of millions of years, result in their complete merger into a single, larger, more complex galaxy. You can see them from this distance. They are small enough to be contained within the frame of your window, and the window brings them close enough to see their shape, their structure, the way the arms of one are beginning to be distorted and drawn out by the gravity of the other, the way the outer edges of both are already beginning to blur and mix at their boundaries. They glow, these two galaxies, with the collective light of hundreds of billions of stars, a glow so composed and so even that it reads not as the frantic activity it actually represents at a stellar level, but as a kind of luminous calm, a radiance, the way a city seen from a great height glows with a composed and beautiful light that gives no hint of all the individual lives and motions and complexities contained within it. And they're moving toward each other, but so slowly, so impossibly, so perfectly, so exquisitely slowly, from where you lie in your warm bed on this quiet ship at this extraordinary remove. The movement is not visible from moment to moment. You could watch this window for the entirety of your life and never see the relative positions of these two galaxies change. The merger that is taking place on a time scale so far beyond the human lifespan that it exists more as a theoretical reality than an observable process. And yet it is happening. The physics is proceeding. The gravity is doing its long and patient work. And what this means from your window is that what you see is stillness. What you see is two enormous and beautiful and luminous things existing in relation to each other with the quality of perfect stillness, the quality of a breath held in the middle of something important, the quality of two things that are in the process of becoming one thing in the slow and complete and irreversible way that the deepest kinds of becoming always happen. And they cannot be rushed, and they cannot be hurried, and they are exactly as fast as they need to be. A slow waltz. That is what it looks like. That is the only language that comes close to capturing it. Two enormous, luminous, ancient things moving in relation to each other with the grace and the timing of a slow dance. A waltz seen from so far above that there is no music and no sound, only the pure visual sweep of the movement itself. A billion stars taking the same slow step, 100 billion stars answering with the same slow, graceful, silent response, and the arms of the two galaxies reaching toward each other the way the arms of dancers reach, not grasping, not urgent, but extending, offering, beginning to long embrace that will, in time beyond time, become complete. There is no sound. There is never any sound in space. No crash of stars colliding, which in any case is not what this is. In the collision of galaxies, the stars are so widely spaced that actual stellar collisions are vanishingly rare. What happens instead is this slow gravitational dance, this tidal exchange, this patient mixing of populations over timescales that make the age of any civilization or species look like an afternoon. What happens is art on a scale that dwarfs everything human. What happens is the universe doing what it does, which is to slowly, steadily, inevitably bring things together. You watch it, you breathe, and your eyes are heavy. They are so heavy now, and the image of the galaxies outside the window is softening at its edges, losing its resolution, becoming more of an impression and less of a detail, the way everything softens when sleep is very close, when the visual cortex is beginning to wind down its active processing, and the dream systems are beginning to stir and warm up and prepare for their own long night's work. The window is still there. The galaxies are still there, or their light is still reaching your window from however many millions of light years away they exist, traveling toward you through the dark with the patience and the constancy of light, which has no reason to hurry and no mechanism for delay. but simply goes and goes and goes until it arrives, or until something bends or absorbs it. The light from those galaxies has been traveling for millions of years. It left there long before you existed, long before the Earth existed as it currently is, long before anyone was here to receive it. And tonight, the end of its long journey is your window, your eyes, the impression it makes on your nearly sleeping mind of something vast and graceful and entirely, fundamentally peaceful happening in the deep dark of the universe. Two enormous beautiful things finding their way toward each other across a span of time and space that defeats all language except this. It is happening. It is happening slowly. It is happening beautifully. And it is happening whether or not anyone is watching. The same way the river runs, and the stars burn, and the pillars of cosmic dust continue their patient birth of new stars, whether or not there is anyone present to appreciate them. The universe proceeding with the simple, enormous confidence of something that does not need an audience to justify its magnificence. But tonight you are the audience. Tonight the window is aligned. Tonight the Elysian drift has brought you to exactly this place, at exactly this point in the journey, at exactly this hour of the night, when your body is as relaxed as it has been in a very long time, when your mind is as quiet as it rarely manages to become during the busy hours, when the conditions are exactly right for the deepest kind of seeing, the kind that bypasses the intellect entirely and goes straight to the part of you that has always known, without being able to say how it knows, that the universe is good, that existence is fundamentally, cosmically, in the deepest sense good, that the fact of being here, being alive, being capable of warmth and breath and wonder and the simple, irreplaceable experience of lying in a soft bed and looking at stars is not something to be taken for granted, but also not something to be anxious about, because it is a gift, simple and complete, offered without conditions by a universe that made you out of its own ancient material, and that has been carrying you, as the Elysian drift is carrying you now through all the years and experiences and moments of your life, steadily, reliably, without fanfare, toward whatever comes next. And whatever comes next can wait. For now, there is only this. The lights in your cabin have been dimming. You may not have noticed. That is by design. The dimming happens at a rate calibrated to be imperceptible from moment to moment, but significant over the course of time. The slow turning down of the warm amber glow until it is barely more than a whisper of light, a memory of light, a suggestion that light exists and that it will still exist when you need it again in the morning. But that for now, for these hours, it is making room for the dark, for the beautiful, spacious, welcoming dark that the stars outside your window inhabit so comfortably, that the night itself has always inhabited, that sleep requires and deserves. The light is almost entirely gone now. The cabin is nearly dark, and the window, with the light gone from behind you, is suddenly more than a window. It is a portal. It is the entire wall. The entire universe pours through it in the dark, the star field unimpeded by any reflection, any glare, any competition from the room's own light. Simply open, simply present, simply offering itself to your gaze as you lie in the warmth and the hum and breathe with the long, slow ease of someone who is almost asleep Your eyelids are so heavy. There is no need to keep them open. Everything that is outside the window has already made its way into you. The pillars and the nebula, and the scent of the galaxy's heart, and the patient pulse of the neutron star, and the gentle, enormous stillness of the black hole, and the silent, ancient waltz of two galaxies finding their way toward each other in the dark. All of it is in you now, part of the record, part of the cellular memory, part of the quiet ongoing story of who you are, and what you have seen, and what the universe looked like on this particular night when you were warm in a bed on a ship moving through the dark, and the stars were very close, and everything was very still, and the hum was there beneath it all, constant and deep and reliable. The heartbeat of this vessel that has carried you tonight through one of the most extraordinary journeys that a human being has ever taken. Close your eyes. Let them close. They are ready. Your whole body is ready. The heaviness in your legs has become so complete and so comfortable that you have stopped being aware of it as heaviness and have simply incorporated it into the general quality of being in the bed, of being held, of being exactly where you are supposed to be at this exact hour of this exact night. Your arms are still. Your hands are open. Your breathing has found its final, deepest rhythm, the one that the body settles into when it has truly let go of the day, when the last small tendrils of alertness have loosened their hold, and the tide of sleep has come fully in, not with urgency, not with the crashing quality of fatigue after a very hard day, but gently, the way the best kind of sleep always comes, like the light dimming, like the tide coming in, like the stars fading at dawn, slowly, gradually, inevitably, with a quality of natural rightness that makes resistance not only unnecessary, but genuinely impossible. You are going to sleep now. Your breathing is slowing. Your mind is quiet. The hum of the ship is there. It has been there the whole time, and it will be there through every hour of the night. Steady and deep and low, the constant voice of the engines that carry you, the constant reassurance that all is well, that the ship is moving, that the course is set, that the navigation systems are watching, and the crew is present, and the ship is good, and you are safe and warm and held and carried. The stars outside the window are beginning to blur, not because they are moving, not because anything is wrong, because your eyes behind their closed lids have finally released the last of their focus, have finally allowed the visual world to dissolve into the soft and formless dark that is the beginning of sleep. That is the threshold. That is the doorway through which every human being passes every night into the interior country of rest and dream and deep restoration. The country that no description quite captures, but that the body knows by heart. That the body has always known by heart. That the body is already moving toward now with the ease and the confidence and the quiet joy of arriving somewhere beloved. The galaxies are still there, outside the window, still dancing their billion-year waltz, still luminous and ancient and entirely, endlessly beautiful. You don't need to watch anymore. They'll still be dancing when you wake. The hum is with you. The warmth is with you. The deep and patient dark is with you. And somewhere in the extraordinary distance, beyond the window, beyond the ship, beyond the local group and the galactic plane, and the pillars of creation, and the raspberry scent of the center of the galaxy, and the patient pulse of neutron stars, and the bent light of ancient black holes, and the slow waltz of merging galaxies. The universe continues its long and beautiful and entirely reliable work, making stars and worlds and time patient and vast and fundamentally, cosmically good. You are a part of it. You have always been a part of it. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a star. You are, in the deepest and most literal sense, made of the same material as everything you saw tonight through that great and extraordinary window. The same ancient material, the same patient atoms, the same cosmic dust that filled the pillars of creation and drifted in the molecular cloud near the galactic center, and bent in the gravity of the black hole, and glowed in the light of a billion stars and two galaxies dancing slowly toward each other in the deep dark. You are made of all of it. You have always been made of all of it, and it has always been made in part of you. Sleep now. Just sleep. The ship is carrying you. The hum is with you. The stars are everywhere, and everything is very still. The warmth holds you completely. Your breathing is barely a breath now, soft and slow and barely there. The most peaceful breathing in the world, the breathing of someone who is deeply, fully, safely asleep. The breathing of someone who has nothing to fear and nothing to do and nowhere to be except right here in this warm and held and humming dark, with the stars somewhere beyond the window and the ship moving gently through them, and the night stretching out ahead like all the space in the universe, which is to say, endlessly, beautifully, quietly, without end. Sleep. Sleep now. The hum carries you. The dark holds you. The stars watch over you from their extraordinary distances, patient and bright and countless as they have always done, as they will always do, burning their patient fires in the dark, making their ancient light, waiting without urgency for the morning to bring you back, not rushing, not demanding. Simply there, simply beautiful, simply burning in the enormous and generous dark. You are held, you are warm, you are safe, and the ship moves on through the stars, and the hum goes on beneath everything, and you breathe, and you rest, and you sleep. The Elysian drift moves on. The stars are still there, and you are sleeping now deeply, peacefully,